Hello, Sister Turfs. I'm Sue Robson. I wasn't going to speak because I haven't prepared anything and I'm a bit emotionally fragile. But I used to run North East Women's Network. I was the coordinator of North East Women's Network, which is a network of women's organisations, and all we did were protect women-only spaces, sex-based women-only spaces. And looking round, I see one or two women who were involved in North East Women's Network, but I think next time Posey comes to Newcastle, we need to get them all here. I've spent, best part of my life in feminist activists and campaigning. I'm 62, so I've been a turf longer than you, Posey. I don't know where to start with this really, but I bring up my grandson. He's 14. He wanted to come today, but he's a big lad. He's about 16 and a half stone. And I said, Vinny, they'll just think that you're like a trans woman, like infiltrating. But anyway, Vinny goes to a highly specialist school in the Northeast, where probably some of the most children with the most complex needs go. And he just comes in every day, and the last one was telling him men can have babies, telling him children can trans from 2 years old. He had a complete meltdown one day and we had to bring him home. Vinny is amazing, very, very clever, but his reading age is probably about 6. And well, it is 6 because he just had it assessed. And they were trying to teach him in English, which is supposed to have one-to-one, that they is a singular pronoun. And then the other day he came in and asked me what Zer is, because it was on a poster at school, and so it's just really difficult. Anyway, Vinny's mum, my daughter Tina, died in 2020. She suffered from alcoholism, polysubstance misuse from a very young age because she suffered a childhood trauma. So I'm setting up a very specialist organisation in her name called Tina's Haven. And we're working with a really, really marginalised group of women. And that's birth mothers who've been severed, birth mothers and children who've been severed by trauma-based addiction. So it's a pretty niche group, and not a small group by any means, because a lot of children are removed and severed from their birth families forever. And Tina, I made sure that she had contact with her son, which a lot of mothers and children don't, that end up in adoption and sometimes never see each other again. And he said to me, he said, Nan, he said, if I hadn't had these memories of me mum, it would have been much harder losing her. And that really compelled me. So we're doing some really successful work. If you Google hashtag Tina's Haven, you probably get stuff, on Twitter and on Facebook. And when I was, Tina, addiction services, homelessness services, any services that she was encountered were designed for men, with concerns about men. So even though women weren't excluded for those services, and at an inquest, I had to hear her berated even in her death, because she didn't engage in these services that were designed for men, and so almost that if a death was really our own fault through this lack of engagement. And the coroner did congratulate me at the end, for making a stand for it, and she knew by that time, that I was committed to developing or certainly influencing policy around the, for women. And one of the organisations I worked with during the inquest that, in campaigning for homeless women was dead impressed with Tina's Haven, a national homeless organisation, and wanted to, support with the project, until the point where I said, you need to know that we are working with birth mothers. So we couldn't have a trans man rocking up and saying, you know, who'd lost their children through addiction, as a man, as a father, saying that they were a birth mother, and that was a problem. And I just think, I walked here today, and I walked over there, and I just started to cry, like, what the hell is this about? You know, I was reading an article in The Guardian yesterday about that woman, Zara, who was absolutely slaughtered in the street, you know, and it, you know, not just, you know, two women a week, like, you know, killed, you know, most of them by their partners, but, you know, there's several women recently who've been slaughtered on the street, you know, and hearing them, you know, neighbours hearing them screaming and doing nothing about it. And we've got people over there, in the name of human rights, you know, trying to take away the sex-based rights of women, when we're in this, with probably the worst place that we've ever been in living history. Fuck off!
She meant trans women, not trans men. So she asked for female only, and the organisation weren't happy.
Thank you very much, thank you. And she's been a TERF longer than me by about 35 years.